Everybody. I'm going to speak on the Reverend Richard Allen, who was the first minister, the first person responsible for African Methodist Episcopal Church. He was the first minister of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. In other words, he founded our church system. So let's go and I will share some history about Richard Allen. Hello? Anybody here? Okay. He was born into slavery in 1760. Richard Allen later bought his freedom and went on to found the first national Black church in the United States. That would be the AME Church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church. He was a man of had many skills. He was a minister, an educator, a writer, and a writer. He later converted to Methodism and bought his freedom because that's the only way he could get free is to buy it back then. Richard Allen was a writer, minister, abologist, abolitionist. And I say he eventually converted to Methodism. He joined the St. George Episcopal Church when Black and whites worshiped together. And he became an associate minister and eventually conducted a prayer meetings for African Americans. Eventually, because he was limited to the church put limitation on what he could do. He decided to leave the church. And he, along with other ministers in the church, left, and they founded a society that will help Black people. Because back then, well, I don't have to tell you, Black people weren't helped way back there. We're talking about way back in the 1700s. There was no help for us except from us. He continued. He was a Methodist, and he and a group of other Methodists founded a lot on which to build a church. And the church that they built was the Bethel African Methodist Church that was built at 6th and Lombard. And that church has been there at 6th and Lombard since the church was built back in 1770. It's been there ever since they bought it. And the AME church, the Blacks own that parcel of territory where the church was built, and they have owned it ever since the AME church was built. Now, the one thing that I want to share was that he and his wife, his first wife, or his second wife, were very instrumental in helping Blacks when it came down to the Underground Railroad. They had their own Underground Railroad in which Blacks used that Underground Railroad until he died, till his death in 1778. He died. 1799. Now he was ordained in 1799, and he died in 1831. And so we had this Underground Railroad because back then the Underground Railroad was used for people to slaves to escape from their white masters. And we also have an Underground Railroad was used at our church. Our church was used as part of the Underground Railroad, not this one with Bishop Allen, but it was used. There were several churches that were used for the Underground Railroad at that time, but because they were fleeing from the slave border states of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, and North and South Carolina is where they were fleeing. Those states housed slaves, and they were trying to get away from them. Now, during the time that when he was younger, during the time that Richard Allen was preacher, an epidemic occurred called the yellow fever. And the yellow fever really impacted many, many people. A lot of people died from the yellow fever. You had I would say almost like 5 million people died from the yellow fever. And I'll tell you this, in an effort to prove themselves that Black church, they're morally superior, to those who reviled them, okay? The Philadelphia Black community put aside resentment, which they had because they wanted to help. They wanted to help everyone who was affected by the yellow flu, regardless of what color the skin was or anything, but it didn't seem to matter to some people. So they put aside their resentment and dedicated themselves to working with the Blacks and dying with the virus. And they worked with them in the sense that they went out as nurses. He nursed them. They went out and he buried them. They even went and they carried their bodies to help them go into the graves. It was really that epidemic was really terrible then. Another reason why Black people were so involved in that, because you had Reverend Rush was told that Black people would not get the yellow fever, but that would turn out to be wrong. Black people did get the yellow fever, and as a result, you had almost as many Blacks who died from the yellow fever as whites. And in the end, after the fever kind of died out as a result of the weather turning cooler, and once it was died out, people, they didn't pay too much homage to the Blacks who really treated really helped the epidemic to be in control, reduce the number of people who might have died. They felt that Black people were the worst people in the world. And that's a terrible thing to do. Black people are trying to help out, but they want to take all the credit for it. So in essence, historically, they did take the credit for it, except that Richard Allen was able to write papers on it and about the whole incident and shared that information for the world to see that Black people did help with those who were, suffered from the yellow fever, unlike what story was coming out. That is one epidemic, and it's a shame that we are now in another pandemic. And this pandemic that we're in right now and by the way, Richard Allen did get sick with the yellow fever, but he survived. He did get sick, but he did survive. And today we're all living in a pandemic. And this pandemic is such that it's completely, it's killed so many people, sickened so many people, and I'm sure we all know about this pandemic because I'm sure many of us have been affected by the pandemic, and it's been when will it go away? We ask ourselves, when will it go away? I hope it goes away soon, sooner than soon. We can pay homage to our churches who have shared the information that we needed to get the help that we had to get to fight this virus. Um, we wouldn't had to go to churches because there was so much misinformation out there, information that didn't help you, that was wrong. I just don't know why people are like that. We're supposed to help each other, but I just don't, I guess it's how life is, and there's not much we can do about it. But we were forced to change our lifestyles completely. We had to with the virus. We had to try to stay away from each other for take stay with 6 feet away from each other. We had to wear masks. We had to wash our hands all the time, and we had to reduce the number of people that crowded together. And we had to pray. Our churches had closed down because we didn't want to have all the people in churches. And so our churches were affected.
And we stand so grateful that our churches have been able to share with us and give us that kind of information, and that we as church family can work together and continue the best we can in this virus time. We thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia, for all the wonderful information you have shared with us. And we are going to move on to our, now that we've gotten our tech team, our wonderful tech team has really worked it out, we'd like to hear Jesus Children by Aya. All right, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody let you know. Exceptionally great people, exceptionally good friends of mine. Mr. Alvin Banks, on Travaglia Rivers, on is Keith Worthington, for those of you who don't know, and our singer together, we are Aya.
So as we go on, I'm going to have a poem by Jeremiah. Okay. Now we'll have a Harriet Tubman reading by Lisa Brown.
Okay, Harriet Tubman, humanitarian abolitionist and spy from 1820 to 1913. A self-proclaimed Moses to her people, Harriet Tubman was born at the pinnacle of slavery in 1820 to 1849. Tubman made a daring escape to freedom, guided early by the North Star. She traveled during the night into Philadelphia. Tubman went to spearhead the mission is the South leading more than their 100 slaves to freedom. Thank you. Using a network of safe houses known as the Underground Railroad. During the Civil War, Tubman employed her extreme bravery and acute ingenuity to serve the Union Army, crossing Confederate state lines as she spied and becoming the first American woman to lead men on a military raid. Tubman's thirst for justice was not quenched with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. Long after the government abolishment of slavery, Tubman continued on to fight for women's suffrage and to help establish schools for their freedom on North Carolina. Thank you.
I'm so proud of our youth. We already had one, and now we're having our other youth of our church. So now Devin Browning will give us a reading on Jack Johnson. Amen.
Hi. Hi there. This is Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson, boxer, born from 1878, died from 1946. John Arthur, Jack Johnson, formerly known as a Galveston giant, rose to national prominence in the early 1900s when he became the first African-American world heavyweight boxing champion. Johnson secured the coveted title in 1908 when he knocked out a reigning champion, Tommy Burns. During the height of Jim Crow era, and a time when most white boxers refused to spar with black fighters, Johnson broke racial barriers in the boxing industry and earned the respect of his white counterparts. Thank you. Okay, that's it. That's it.
I just want to take the time out to thank our tech team for getting us back on track.
Amen.
So now we're going to have a Shirley Caesar reading by Celeste Robinson, and that'll be followed by a selection by Louise and Ed Hargrave.
introducing you to our latest product.
I just wanted to give you a sample, just in case you never heard of Shirley Caesar. Just give you a sample of her music. Shirley Ann Caesar, born October 13th, 1938, known professionally as Shirley Caesar, is an American gospel singer, songwriter, recording artist whose career has spanned 7 decades. A multi-award winning artist, the 12 Grammy Awards, along with Dove Awards and Stellar Awards to her credit, she is known as the First Lady of Gospel Music and the Queen of Gospel Music. She began recording at the age of 12 in 1951 on Federal Records. Caesar first began singing and performing for her family and friends. She began singing as baby Shirley Caesar all over the Carolinas as invitations poured in. She could only perform on weekends due to school during the weekdays. Her professional music career began in 1958 at 19 when she approached Albertina Walker about joining the Caravans, one of the most popular gospel groups at that time. Albertina wanted the vocally talented Shirley Caesar in her group after hearing her sing a solo. Caesar decided to halt her education to join the group. To reach more people with her music career, Caesar signed with a secular record label called Roadshow Records in 1977 and released the debut album entitled First Lady. The producer of the album titled the album First Lady because Caesar was the first female to ever record on the label. The album contained songs with strong gospel lyrics, but many within the gospel community felt that the music itself was too worldly, and many gospel DJs refused to play it on their radio station. One song, however, Faded Rose, later became a Caesar classic. Overall, the album sold poorly, but the First Lady title caught on within the gospel industry, and concert announcers, DJs, and gospel promoters everywhere started introducing her as the First Lady of Gospel Music, a title that has been associated with her ever since. The second and final album she recorded for Roadshow was From the Heart in 1978. It was poorly received for the same reasons. Caesar searched for a gospel label and finally decided to sign with Word Records in 1980 and went on to win several more Grammys during the next years and beyond. Now a little about Caesar finally accomplished her dream of completing her education after many years. She returned to school and graduated with honors from Shaw University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. She also spent time at the Divinity School of Duke University and has received honorary doctorates from Shaw and Southeastern University. Regarding her personal life, Caesar was the 10th child of 13 children. All of her siblings are deceased now. Her father, Jim Caesar, was a well-known local gospel singer, but he died suddenly when Shirley was 7 years old. Her mother, Hallie Caesar, was a semi-invalid due to a lame leg. Caesar had a special bond with her mother and took care of her until her death in 1986. Caesar married Bishop Harold I. Williams in June 1983. The couple were co-pastors of the 1,500-member Mount Calvary Word of Faith Church in Raleigh, North Carolina, until his death, 4th of July, 2014. While she does not have any children of her own, she has 2 stepchildren from her husband. Caesar is a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She cites her mother as a strong influence in her decision to give so selflessly of herself. Caesar has committed a sizable portion of all her concert sales to her outreach ministries. And that is the story of Dr. Shirley Caesar.
Okay, we're going to now have the selection by Louise and Ed Hargrove. You guys ready? Can you hear us? Hargrave, sorry. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Put it on the screen.
Are we going to go on the screen?
You're
On
on
the
there.
screen.
Wait.
Ah,
Our screen.
okay. I don't see us on our screen. That's what I was wondering. Okay, good afternoon, church. We're going to try to grace you with a Shirley Caesar song.
Amen.
Jesus, oh Jesus, how I love calling your name. Oh Jesus, sweet Jesus, every day your name is the same. Oh Jesus, my Jesus, yes, how I love calling your name. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, every day your name is the same. Oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus, yes, how I love calling your name. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, yes, every day your name is the same. When my troubles surrounded me and I didn't have to despair, Lord, you know you told me that you'd be right there. Seemed like my problems had just begun. Didn't have to worry no more, they were already won. Oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus, yes, how I love calling your name. Oh, Jesus, 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 every day your name is the same. I remember the times when I felt so all alone. Every time I needed you, Jesus, all I had to do was call. Sometimes in the morning, or sometime late at night, I got down on my knees and called him, made everything alright. Jesus, Jesus, oh, how I love calling your name. Oh, Jesus, my mountain mover, Jesus, nobody like Jesus. Every day your name is the same. Oh, Jesus, my rose of Sharon, Jesus, lily of the valley, Jesus. Yes, I love calling your name. Oh, Jesus, a friend when you need a friend, Jesus. Every day your name is the same. Oh, Jesus, 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 Jesus. Every day your name is the same. Tell Maddie, when I needed a healing, Lord, and my life was so in pain, but you brought me my miracle, and you called your sweet name. It times were so hard, I thought I couldn't make another day. Lord, you showed up on time. All I had to say was, Jesus, Jesus, how I love calling your name. Oh, Jesus, sweet Jesus, every day your name is the same. Oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus. I love him, how I love calling your name. Oh, Jesus, grandchildren, children,
For today, for Jesus. He's the reason why we have all this history. Amen. So with that, we're going to just a short housekeeping moment. We're asking that those who are online, if you could, during the musicians' time when they're playing and singing, just so we won't interrupt them, if you could maybe put your clapping hands up, or you can even do a fist pump, raise your hands up.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Now we're going to have a health moment by Cecilia Murray. She got a lot of titles, BSN and MSA. The only letter I know is that N is.
Okay, dude. Guilty.
Guilty said amen.
Very holiday moment by Keith Worthington.
I'm gone.
Good afternoon. I'm Celia Murray. I'm one of the health team members here at Mount Zion. And you can't have a talk about health in 2022 without talking about coronavirus. So let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, just for a minute.
Moving on,
Just for another minute, because it's almost 2:30.
I'm done.
where the person said, Black people don't get coronavirus. You don't need to listen to that stuff. And it freaked me out because the person who sent it to me was my cousin. And I was like, please don't let him be listening to this nonsense. Black people, in fact, do get coronavirus. Coronavirus is real. If you have any doubt, it is real. It is still here. It's infecting us. It's killing us. This is a virus. Viruses are smart. This thing replicates all the time. I can barely keep up with all the daggone variations we've had. Now, most people have heard of the Delta variant and Omicron, but there have been lesser known ones as well. And just last week, I started hearing about BA2, yet another one. This thing won't stop until we do everything we can to defeat it.
Right.
So it can keep evading our attempts to wipe it out because we aren't doing our part, at least not completely. We have to stay vigilant to beat this thing. It's hard, but since when have Black people had a problem doing something because it was hard? Well, we don't. Because it's spread by respiratory methods, mask wearing has been important. Many people complain about wearing a mask. We hear it all the time. We know that it's harder for the virus to spread if you're wearing a mask. That's why you hear about these super spreader events when groups gather with people who refuse to wear a mask. You do need to wear the right kind of mask and to wear it correctly. Cotton masks are comfortable and can be effective, but they are considered the better than nothing option. But they need to be multi-layered. They need to be made of a tightly woven fabric. And they need to be 3 layers thick or more. You can also get the ones where you can put a filter into it. Simple solution. Surgical mask or procedural mask are a better option. These are usually 3 layers thick. So that's why they're effective. The KN95, generally made out of a non-woven fabric, generally 5 layers thick. Again, a better option. So, and then your N95s are your medical grade mask. Why is all this important? Wear the best mask that you can get, but wear something and make sure it fits properly. It needs to cover your mouth, your nose, and your chin. If you're one of these people we see with the mask hanging under your chin, not really all that effective. I see a lot of people who have their nose out and just covering the mouth and chin. Again, it's respiratory, your nose needs to be covered as well. It needs to fit close on the sides. It needs to fit close around the bridge of the nose. So the ones with wire on the nose are better than those that don't have this. Then it needs to be worn consistently when you're around people other than who you live with. There's other things to consider when you're talking about ventilation in the home, cleaning and disinfecting. There are other things that make a difference, but you need to follow all of those things. If you think about things like social distancing, can you ever remember your mom telling you, get out of space, stay back, stop getting up on him, cover your mouth and your nose when you're coughing and you're sneezing? These are the things that our mamas taught us. So when you hear someone say, I don't want the government telling me what to do, I say, you might not want to listen to the government, but you better do what your mama told you. Well, it's the same thing. Do what your mama told you. And be careful who you listen to. Now, another thing that's important that I'd like to remind people, we all have a phone. These can be the dirtiest things in our lives. When you're doing your sanitizing, sanitize your phone too. It's simple, it's easy. Sanitize your phone. But we in the Black community have other health concerns than coronavirus. So let me quickly go over a couple of those with you. Diabetes, or the sugar if you're old enough. Diabetes, Blacks are twice as likely to be diagnosed with diabetes as our white counterparts. And the important part of that is that we suffer the more serious complications, losing your eyesight, losing a limb, having kidney failure. All things that happen more prevalent in Blacks than whites. Lung diseases. We have twice the asthma rate as our white counterparts. And we're 3 times more likely to die from asthma. Just food for thought. We're 3 times more likely to suffer from sarcoidosis than our white counterparts. That's a disease where your lungs get scarred. Not only do we suffer from it more than whites, but we are 16 times more likely to die from that disease. We have our babies who have 2.5 times the sudden infant death rate. as our white counterparts. Our men, and men particularly, 50% more likely to get lung cancer than white men. Our children, 3 times more likely to get sleep apnea than white children. And yet we are half as likely to get the vaccines for flu or pneumonia. Again, just things to think about. We have circulatory diseases that we need to think about. In our Black communities, heart disease, very prevalent. Strokes in the 34 to 54 age population, 4 times more likely for a stroke to kill a Black person than a white person. And the big one, high blood pressure. We could talk probably for an hour on high blood pressure, but they didn't give me an hour to stand up here. So let's talk about high blood pressure real quick and what we can do about it. Because with high blood pressure, it is one of those things that you make small changes and they can have a big effect. Eat a healthy diet. Whole grains, fruits, vegetables, low-fat dairy, high protein, high fiber. Ease up on sugary drinks, red meats, and sweets. But keep in the lean meats, the fish, the poultry. So you still have plenty of options. Lose extra weight. Now, some of us have a few extra pounds. Lose them. Don't be like me. Find them again once you've lost them. Lose your extra weight. Just 5 pounds even can help to lower your blood pressure. And the thing about weight is to keep an eye on your waistline. Because for women with a waist of more than 35 inches and men more than 40, you're more likely to have high blood pressure. Be active. Get some exercise. They tell you 150 minutes a week. That's 2.5 hours. It's not really that much. You can go for a good walk and it'll take an hour. So keep that in mind. Watch your salt. We have been told for years and years to watch our salt. We don't watch our salt unless we watch it going on our plates. But we all know that salt can raise your blood pressure. Make a little change. Switch from regular salt to light salt. Very simple. It's like 1/4 of the amount of sodium that was in the other product. Get more potassium in your system. So go ahead and eat that banana. For whatever reason, your blood pressure is likely to be higher if you don't have enough potassium in your diet. Eat your spinach. I don't like it either, but eat it anyway. Beans, tomatoes, oranges, your sweet potatoes, your yogurt. These are all things that are big in potassium. Now, I will say that with potassium, please make sure you are talking with your provider, your healthcare provider, about dietary changes, because potassium can affect cardiac issues. Okay, so just be careful with it. Ease the stress. We are the professionals when it comes to stress. We're all over it. And some people deal with it by eating unhealthy foods, by drinking, by smoking. These are all things that are going to make the blood pressure worse. So do things like maybe meditation, yoga, even deep breathing help to ease the stress so we can control the blood pressure. Limit your alcohol. Might not want to hear that one, but limit your alcohol. They say women should really only have 1 drink a day and men only 2. Think about it, you can do it. It's not really that hard. If you are a smoker, quit. I have people say, I'm not a quitter. Yeah, but you need to be in this case. It will affect your blood pressure, and smoking can sometimes affect your blood pressure meds. So again, this is one of those things you need to talk to your doctor about. Pay attention to your caffeine. If you regularly drink caffeine, your sodas, your coffee, whatever, it may not affect your blood pressure much, but the people who don't drink it often, and then, you know, for whatever reason, that's the day you had 3 cups of coffee, you just might need to keep in mind that that could cause a short spike in your blood pressure. Get enough sleep. This is a big one because most of us don't get enough sleep. But if you have high quality sleep where you fall asleep in less than 30 minutes, you don't wake up more than once during the course of the night, you go back to sleep quickly if you have woken up. These things will help keep that blood pressure down. So it's always important because it's helping your heart and your vessels. It's always important to get good sleep, and they say 7 hours. Many of us don't, but 7 hours is probably your best option. And then you can have a variety of other medical problems. Talk to your doctor. This is the person you should be like intimate with as far as they know everything about you. You're not hiding stuff. When you go in to see him, don't think, oh, I can't tell him X, Y, and Z because he's going to yell at me. He already told me not to do that. If you haven't been following what you're supposed to be following, tell the person, tell that provider, because then you can work together to come up with a better solution. Maybe you have sleep apnea. Maybe you have high cholesterol or thyroid disorders. These are all things that can be affected by high blood pressure. Keep that in mind. What I'd like to say is that in all things, be careful, pay attention to you, to your body, to your health. Thank you.
This is our brother Keith, and he's doing a Billie Holiday moment.
Once again, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to take a moment to tell you about Miss Eleanor Fagan. Of course, you don't probably recognize that name, but you do recognize it. Jazz singer, somebody who was not known to have a huge vocal range, but what she did with the range she had was truly amazing. Billie Holiday was later named by Lester Young, her saxophones, or nickname, Lady Day. Actually, she got her name from a singer, the Billie Holiday name, from a singer named Billy Dunn, if I'm not mistaken. She took the Billy, and her father's name was Halliday with an A. He left when she was a young girl, and many times when we hear about Billie Holiday, we hear about all the troubles and trials and tribulations she went through. She was abused as a young lady. She was a victim of substance abuse. But what people may not realize, and in this most recent movie I saw of her, Nick brought it to the forefront, that she was really a victim also of the United States, a victim of our system. Mm-hmm. And she represented us so well by her continued. It was written actually by somebody who you'd really be surprised about. What I'm going to do now is, I was going to talk more about it, but it's best if we turn it over to the tech team. And I was trying to remember the name. It's Angela Davis. It's a short bio on Billie by Miss Angela Davis.
Everything and they member of the Communist Party of the Rose. They those children was friends with them. Holiday was offered. She discovered her reason for. Many of you probably know that she included that in her. And she wrote it and performed it. Was when she grasped the message. A woman
Hey, lady, sing that sexy song you're singing about the nation. Simply refuse to. Is the man links the song with there's a her and love and order. The established order's destruction of black the freedom of black to foreground her now you may know we'll be boycotted, but Gabriel on his comment. I don't know whether of protest of popularity is an example to section of consciousness.
Southern trees bear fruit, love and blood and those black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. Pastoral scene of the gallant South, the bulging eyes, the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh. Then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the trees to drop. Here is a strange and bitter
Have a selection by Ivana Wade.
My father just texted and said she won't be able to make it.
Oh, okay. So then we're gonna go right to our introduction of our pastor, Reverend Ray Brown Wright by Lois Robinson. Followed by, we'll get remarks from Chairperson Keith Worthington and our pastor, Reverend Ray Brown Wright. Oh, and a benediction.
All right. I want to introduce and reestablish our new pastor. Reverend Rhea Etheria Brown Wright was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to Dr.
Etheria T. Brown. She accepted Jesus Christ as her personal savior at the tender age of 13. She was raised in Willingboro, New Jersey, and there she was educated in the public school system for 12 years. Raya then attended the University of the Arts, where she earned her BFA in animation and film. One of the highlights of her time there included meeting and being called a true believer by the great Stan Lee. After which, she and her best friends from undergraduate school formed the extremely short-lived animation studio, Kid Paz Entertainment. While working various jobs at 12th Street Gym and Fat Jack's Comic Crypt, Raya continued to develop her passions for art as well as the passion for bodybuilding and personal training that was given to her by her uncle, the Reverend Dr. Richard Brown III. She has served as a judge in bodybuilding competitions in the National Physique Committee, NPC, and the World Physique Federation since the age of 15. The same uncle introduced her to the National Convention of Gospel Choirs at the tender age of 8. It was there that she learned the depth and beauty of gospel music, and as a child, she met and was blessed by Thomas Andrew Dorsey before his passing in 1993. In 2010, the Holy Spirit led Raya to Carnegie Mellon University after being formed into a producer and designer of video games in the Entertainment Technology Center's MET, Masters of Entertainment Technology program. Raya could no longer deny the call that knocked so softly in 1999, then made itself obvious in 2008. At that time, it was then Reverend Jocelyn K. Hart that guided the young neophyte with patience and love as she wrestled with her call to ministry. In 2013, Raya answered the call to preach in her home church of over 30 years, her beloved Hickman Temple AME Church on 50th and Baltimore Avenue in Philadelphia, where it was her great privilege to serve under and be mentored by Reverend Gregory P. Nelson. In April 2021, Bishop Gregory G.M. Ingram surprised Reverend Raya with an appointment to her first charge at Grace AME Church. And though her time there was short, she learned a great deal about real life pastoring from the wonderful warrior women at Grace. In June of the same year, at the planning meeting, Bishop Ingram transferred her to her current appointment here at Mount Zion Crescent of Voorhees, yay, where she is excited to keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to be the best pastor she can be to some of the greatest people in African Methodism.
Amen. I just want to say that, I guess most of all, thank you to everyone who took part in this program today. You took time out of your busy schedules to study the history and share a little bit of that history with the folks that are online. Thank you for everyone who's on Zoom today, everyone who's in the church. We appreciate you if you just came out to hear a little bit about our history, a little bit about what's going on with Mount Zion. We really thank you for that. I once again want to thank the Berlin Historical Association for the displays downstairs.
Yes.
We appreciate you. We're so used to being at their Black History event in Berlin Township during this time of year. And we do expect that we'll be back soon because God's not going to let this situation hold us down any longer. He's going to open the doors that we need so that we can continue to do the things that we do to celebrate us and to celebrate and to give him praise. So I appreciate my pastor allowing me the opportunity to be to get this thing rolling, and I'm just glad. And as a technical team, we're learning every day. Zoom is a different animal. For those of you who don't know, doing a broadcast online is an entirely new situation. But we learn every time we do it, and we'll be better each time we do. So we thank God, and I thank you.
Amen. I still have some face painted on my face. But doing things in decency and order, we kept our mask on the whole time. I stand exceedingly grateful to Brother Keith when he came several weeks ago and said, Pastor, we have to do something. We haven't been able to celebrate Black History Month. We have to do something. And he shared his leading to put together a program that we might all come together and celebrate the great history that God has given us. And I hope that as what we have shown today has shown you just a wonderful little piece of the deep and rich culture of African Americans overall, and of the particular history that is right here at Mount Zion Crescent, and how we have also been a good and wonderful part of our Black tapestry in America. I tell you, I was only about today or maybe a few days old when I found out how much of a part, even that there was slavery active in the North. And then to find out such wonderful things that you didn't even know was part of your wonderful rich history and heritage that Bishop Richard Allen and the good folks of Mother Bethel and the good folks of early African Methodism helped with first pandemic, helped with the yellow fever pandemic. And even though they were despised by the people, I thank you for sharing that specific part of the history, Miss Cynthia, because we don't get to hear that even on PBS. We don't get to hear about the things that we do to help, because this is our country and we love it as well, whether our country loves us back or not. But we do what God tells us to do regardless, and we share with each other what we can do. So I thank you. I thank you for bringing this project to us, and I thank you for getting so much together. I thank each and every participant.
Yes, yes.
Because from what I'm seeing, the people who are sitting in front of me and the people online, this gentleman called you and nobody said no.
Amen.
And that is a great and wonderful blessing in and of itself. People don't always have to answer the phone. I know y'all have called me. Y'all see how that goes sometimes. So it is a great and wonderful blessing that each and every one of you came out to share with us, came out to import your good and wonderful energy. I thank you, Reverend Ford, for opening us with prayer. I thank you, Karen Ann, for the way you have emceed. And I got to give a special shout out to our tech team. To our tech team, Ms. Kim and Ms. Lois, thank you. Thank you. Because it's real easy to sit there and go, and it's real hard to sit there and figure it out while it's happening. So you are a special blessing. I thank all of our young people. I thank all of our young people, because I don't know, when I was a kid, I might have had something to do on a Saturday afternoon. I might have said no. No, I wouldn't, because I would have gotten beaten. But it is always wonderful to see that kind of participation out of our young people, and this great participation. I mean, that just lifts your heart and your soul. And people come in, people I didn't know, people just came and helped. And you didn't have to, but you did. And I pray a special blessing on each and every single one of you who thought it not robbery to come in and share with us the knowledge that you have, the gifts that you have, and the skills that you have. And also, I'm getting a note from our tech team to take a special moment, and we already spoke about what the wonderful things Miss Jackie has done, but we also want to speak about some of the wonderful displays that are around our sanctuary as well, that are sharing about more of our Black inventors, our Black entertainers, our Black religious leaders, and sharing even more information about what we do, because we do what we do. We forget, we lose sight of how amazing we are as Black people sometimes, and amazing in spite of everything that is cast on us. I wanted to say, come on, Miss Celia, give me some good news. Come on, I mean, come on, pork rinds have to be healthy, don't they? Are they keto? Something. And that spinach that I eat all day, it has to help, but it's good, because when you are educated, you know better, you do better. So I have to thank you, I thank you, each and every one of you. And I hope this might inspire you, some of y'all on the line, to come hang out with us again. Because when we get together, we have a good time. You should have seen it. Well, you saw a little bit of us cutting up last night as we were doing our filming. You are always welcome here at Mount Zion. And before, yes, Ms. Tree.
Can we for 1 minute talk about how Sister Ida was so great in her introduction of our program?
Yes.
We had to listen to it twice. Listen to it twice.
It was wonderful. And if you were hanging out with us last night, you would have cracked up, because she's going, oh, I can't do it. Well, let me tell you, and I'm still here. We had a fabulous time in the Lord fellowshipping together, getting our program. So yes, absolutely special shout out to you, Ms. Ida, because you made a special way to get here. And I tell you, did we have a good time? Did we have a good time? Only thing missing was some chicken wings. We would have had that good to gravy. But we had a good time, and I am so grateful, and I am so happy and excited to stand here as the 52nd pastor of Mount Zion Crescent in New Orleans. As you all have seen, I've been graced with a wonderful, loving, awesome, hardworking people who already know the Lord. And all you got to do is let them run, and then stuff comes together. So I stand grateful to God. And before I start getting all weepy and then crying my face off my face, I just wanted to say thank you to each one who thought it not robbery to come out and share with us. Definitely special shout out to my mama. I know she's on the line. But love to each and every one of you. Love to each and every one of you. And we look forward to working with you again. Sure.
These posters, they were done by Kimberly Cole, and I think she's donating to the church, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can put these up every Black History Month.
Just let them work and let them go, and you end up with a beautiful, wonderful thing. So with that, let us come to the close of this wonderful program, and just thank you. Bless you. We come to our final benediction, which simply will be blessed, my brother, be blessed, my sister, be blessed wherever this life leads you. Let me encourage you. Let me speak life to you. You can depend on God to see you through. And say that you can depend on God to see you through. And you can depend on us at Mount Zion Crescent to continue praying for you. Be blessed, be blessed, be blessed, be blessed, be blessed, be blessed, be blessed. Take every inspiration you have gained from this time together and go forth and do great things in the precious name of our Savior, Jesus the Christ. Be blessed, and everyone have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day today.
Amen.
Amen.